Can any team upset the Iowa Hawkeyes this season? Before I get into this video, please comment below, can any team actually upset Iowa this year? Or am I absolutely crazy in talking about these three teams who I believe can defeat the Iowa Hawkeyes? So I'm going to pull up the Iowa Hawkeyes roster, and oh my goodness, is it loaded. All 10 guys ranked in the top 10. Their entire lineup is back except for Pat Lugo, but guess what? Since Pat Lugo's not out, the thing is, Jaden Ironman transferred in the offseason. He's at 141, bumping Max Murin up to 149, and all 10 guys are ranked. Almost every single guy is actually in All-American position. I think Abe Assad's the only guy just outside of that who's at the number 9 spot right now, and he's knocking on that door for sure. So, listen, before I get into the first team who I think can upset Iowa, which is actually Nebraska, we have to talk about a couple things. One, these are not the scores that I believe are going to happen in the match, right? Like, I don't necessarily think that this is the outcome of every single duel. However, I think it's fun to speculate and talk about what could happen with some of these teams and with some of these duels. I think that's what this is about. So don't give me hate for that. These are not my predictions or projections. I'm just looking at what teams have to do in order to beat the Hawkeyes. And the first team, and because we only have to talk about Big Ten because unfortunately Iowa's only going to be wrestling Big Ten this season, so we're not looking at like an Okie State or an NC State, which I didn't even dive into those. But the first team, Nebraska. Okay, and Nebraska is they were the toughest one that I had to find a way to be able to beat Iowa. At first, I thought that they were going to be very tough to beat Iowa. But upon closer speculation, I actually found that there are some chinks in Iowa's armor that Nebraska can potentially attack and take advantage of. So this is the Iowa's home opener. And the keys to victory for Nebraska here are that they're going to have to flip previous losses and maintain recent victories. So flip previous losses and maintain recent victories. And this is the lineup, of course, for Nebraska. A very tough lineup and one of my favorite teams that I'm watching. Right now, they're ranked number 5 by the coaches poll. I believe that's too low. I think they should actually be higher. I don't think they're given enough respect in Nebraska, but it's just a tough lineup this year. So let's look at some of these matches. So the matches they're going to have to flip are DeSanto and Lovett. This was a 1-0 match at Big Tens last year. And DeSanto and Lovett, I mean, it was a match, okay? And I think that this is a match that Lovett may be able to flip. And if he flips, that's going to be big for Nebraska. The next match is Kemmerer and Labriola. Now, listen, I'll be honest. Michael Kemmerer is my prediction to win the NCAA title this year. I believe he's going to be a national champion. But Labriola and Kemmerer wrestled. It was 3-1 last time they wrestled, and it was a close match. Kemmerer was able to get the better of Labriola, but Labriola that's a perfectly flippable match. If flippable is actually a word. The next thing that I said is they're going to have to keep their recent wins. So Rob is going to have to beat Young again, who he beat 3-2 last time. Taylor Venz is going to have to beat Abe Assad, and that's if Assad is the starter, because we could see Nelson Brand starting out for the Hawkeyes. So the 6-4 decision last time for Venz. We also have Schultz beating Warner last time, 3-1, and Schultz, I think, is a serious threat. So is Warner, though. I mean, let's not give Warner, not give him the credit he deserves, because he deserves a lot of credit. So Murin, I think, is another key to victory here. How's he going to do at 149? Can redshirt freshman Kevon Davenport actually beat Max Murin? I don't know that he can, but he's going to have to if Nebraska wants to beat the Hawkeyes this season. Now, the toughest key in all these matches is Spencer Lee. I fully expect Spencer Lee to tech, pin, or major every single opponent this season. He almost did it last season. The only match, he had one match last season where he didn't do it, and that was against, I believe it was against Michigan's starter. But he's going to do that every season. And so that's essentially putting a lot of these teams in a hole, because Spencer's scoring 4 or 5, likely 6 points to every single duel. So that's tough. So listen, if you're interested, and I will get into my next 2 teams, but if you're interested in the exact team breakdowns, I actually wrote an in-depth article. I'm extremely proud of this article I wrote last night. I looked and pretty much gave match by match predictions of what needs to happen in order for Nebraska or these other two teams to beat Iowa. In order for any team to beat Iowa, I went match by match, gave the team score projections of what needs to happen. If you're looking for that, I actually have that interest available on my Patreon page, Fanco Wrestling. You can go to it down in the link in the description below, or patreon.com/Fanco Wrestling, where you'll find this article, which again, like I said, I'm super proud of it, super excited, a great in-depth article, as well as many other wrestling news and wrestling content, behind the scenes Fanco stuff. So if you're a big Fanco Wrestling supporter, this is the way to support the channel, to get additional content that you wouldn't necessarily be getting on the channel, some more personal stuff. So you can join for as little as $1.99 a month or as much as $9.99 a month, whichever is most acceptable to you, whichever you can afford. If not, let's get on with the rest of this video. And the second team that I believe can beat Iowa this season is Michigan. So Michigan, I believe, in the last time these two teams wrestled, it was 27-9. Iowa beat them. So Iowa smacked them down. If you remember last year, Iowa was on a complete revenge tour. Now, Michigan's lineup right here that I have up, the first thing you have to look at is, like, are these going to be the complete starters? Is this the Michigan lineup? It appears so. We'll see if Micic actually comes back for his 47th season or what he's going to do in the upcoming future. But for this is a tough team. Okay, so Michigan's key to victories is their veterans, such as Micic, such as Massa, such as Amin. They're going to have to show up and show up big time. They're going to have to show that they made improvements in the offseason and show it on the mat. Show it on the mat with results. That's the only way that they're going to be able to beat a team like that's as good as Iowa with these improvements. Now, their first six bouts, look at these first six bouts, 125 up to 165. They're pretty heavily favored in Iowa's favor for the most part. You know, I think Micic is somebody who isn't necessarily like, I don't think DeSanto's favored over Micic. Micic is actually favored over DeSanto since he has the last two wins over DeSanto. DeSanto, I mean, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, actually teched Micic in his freshman year, which is like just so crazy to me. Micic has beat him since then, and I don't think either of those guys are the same wrestlers they were that long ago, but we have to talk about that a little bit. I think Micic is going to have to get a win. Now, the beginning part of this lineup is tough because expect Spencer Lee, expect Jaden Ironman, expect Alex Marinelli to not just win, but score bonus points. I mean, really, with a guy at 141 with Matten, you know, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Iowa to not score bonus points here, right? So the next thing is Storr and Murin. This is actually a toss-up. This is a top 10, top 15 matchup between these two guys, and I think that it's possible that it could flip in Storr's favor. Now, if he wants to win this match for Michigan, he's going to have to win the match, right? He's going to have to find a way to beat Max Murin. I think that's a match that's possible. Now, Massa and Kemmerer, okay? Massa and Kemmerer at 174. That's a potential NCAA finals match. It really is. Now, Massa is coming off of a great offseason. Him and Mason Parris both winning senior nationals titles. Massa, he's bumping up a weight, looking so big, looking massive, if you want to take that. So, with Massa and Kemmerer, Massa's going to have to beat Kemmerer. Do I think he will? I don't think so. I think Kemmerer is going to ultimately get the win here, but Massa's going to have to win here. Amin and Assad, another interesting match. Amin, I think, has the possibility to score bonus potential. Parris actually pinned Anthony Cassiope last year, so you can potentially expect him to do that again. Mason Parris is a pinner. It's not like he just had this one pin or it was a fluke situation. Mason Parris is the real deal, and I think that he could potentially pin Anthony Cassiope again. So they're going to have to get those bonus points. They're going to have their guys from last year win big, and that's all there is to it. And they're going to have to find some other upsets, like potentially at 197 with Jelani Embry. He's going to have to try to find a way to get that upset. Now, the third team that I think could beat Iowa, and you probably know who it is, it's Penn State, okay? Now, listen. I called the duel last year. I did say that Penn State I thought was going to beat Iowa, and everybody called me absurd. Josiah, you're a moron. Josiah, you don't know what you're talking about. And I pretty much called the duel the exact score that it was, just about. I believe the only switch was I had Mark Hall winning over Michael Kemmerer, which I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't. I'll call it out for what it was. I didn't expect that to happen, but it did. But my score was basically spot on. Now, listen, I'm not saying that's going to happen this year. And the thing is, Iowa has more of a veteran team than Penn State. Penn State has a lot of young guys. And a lot of people are expecting like the keys to victory here to be the young guys. And I'm here to tell you that I actually don't think that the young guys are the key to victory. The key to victory are that the returners must do their part. They have to. Now, it comes down really, this match is going to come down to winning matches and not scoring bonus. So a lot of times in the past, Penn State has been the bonus team. That's just who they've been, right? They've been the bonus team. And I don't think that that's who they are going to be against a team like Iowa this year, where a lot of these guys who score bonus, Roman Bravo-Young, Nick Lee, Aaron Brooks, they're going to be matched against a tough opponent. And they're not going to be able to score bonus points. Has it happened in the past? Yes, it has happened with crazy matches in the past, but I'm not counting on it, okay? So, especially, again, we'll see how Penn State's 125-pounder will do. I believe Penn State has been kind of cursed at 125 pounds. I hope that they can revitalize that weight this year. And please let me know what your thoughts are on the Penn State versus Iowa duel. How excited are you for it this year? It's going to be so exciting. I believe it's around Valentine's Day weekend. Not the season of love, but the weekend of love, but the weekend of rivalries. And as I was talking about, Spencer Lee, who is, let's be honest, Spencer Lee just was awarded the Hodge Trophy this year, is the Hodge Trophy contender. He's looking to probably score 5 to 6 points. Penn State will try to have to hold him, but even if he does get 6, I don't think it's out of their reach. Now, first let's talk about the returners. So, Rome Bravo-Young versus Austin DeSanto at 133. Nick Lee versus Jaden Ironman. And then Aaron Brooks versus Abe Assad. Now, Brooks against Assad or Nelson Brands. I think Brooks can potentially actually get Brooks can potentially get bonus points on Abe Assad. I think he can. But he at least needs to get the win, potentially bonus points. Brooks, I think, is a favorite to All-American and potentially win a national title this year. He's looked great last year. I'm excited to see how he does competing in the postseason. Nick Lee versus Jaden Ironman. I'm excited for this one because right now Ironman ranked around that number 1 spot by most outlets is Ironman. Nick Lee, who had a phenomenal season last year. He was a point-scoring machine by all measures. And I'm interested to see how he does against Ironman. If he wants Penn State to win, he's going to have to win, right? If he wants to win a national title, he's going to have to find a way to beat Jaden Ironman. Now, Jaden Ironman is the only guy in college to ever beat Yanni Diakomahalis, who Nick Lee has a loss against. So, like, the rankings are where they should be, but then, you want to throw in some other guys. I mean, 141 is just, it's a load of weight. But let's talk about some of these things. As we talk about some of these things, also is RBY versus DeSanto. Now, we all know that the RBY versus DeSanto match last year didn't go as DeSanto planned or as Iowa planned, right? That was a very controversial match, and for many reasons, mostly because of the cradle that RBY was able to lock up. Not once, but twice, he was able to lock that up. And, ended up, RBY didn't necessarily get the win. It was the injury default, but he did end up beating at Big Tens. I think RBY can beat him again. Will he score a bonus on him? Will he be able to, pin him in a cradle? I don't know if it'll happen this year, but I think he can beat him. I mean, he has to. As for the freshmen, okay, those were the returners. The freshmen, Carter Sirachi versus Michael Kemmerer. I don't, in order for Penn State to beat Iowa, I don't necessarily think that this match has to go in Penn State's favor. I think that this is a tough Pennsylvania bout, right? It's a tough Pennsylvania bout, and the fact that both are PIAA state champions, going at it in college, super stoked to see what happens here. But I think Kemmerer is the veteran. I think he's going to be able to beat Sirachi this year. Jolie and Marinelli. Now, Jolie stepping in at 165. I wish we could get one more Marinelli versus Vincenzo Joseph match, but now that Vincenzo Joseph is gone, we have the Jolie versus Marinelli bout. We'll see how that goes. I expect Marinelli to get that win. Warner and Beard. Beard's going to have to pull off an upset. I don't know if he can or not, but he's going to have to find a way to win against Warner. That's going to be really, I think, the big key match here is is Beard is going to have to find a way to win, because I think Kirkfleet is a threat for a national title. I think that Kirkfleet is 100% able to win a national title this year, if not, I mean, at least All-American. And Cassiope has been somebody who's been, in contention last year and to All-American. He had some unfortunate losses to Stevenson, to Mason Paris, who are, the clear number 1, number 2 guys. We'll see how Kirkfleet does, and I think that we're going to see him pull out some big things in this Iowa match. So excited to see what happens here. These are the teams that I think have a chance to beat Iowa, especially. I think the other key here that I did not mention yet is actually Verclaren and Murin. Verclaren is somebody who I really want to be rooting for. I mean, I am rooting for him, obviously, as a Penn State guy, but I think that this is the key. He has a lot of close matches with really good guys at his weight. But how is he going to do? I mean, he had a great match against Sasso last year, but he kept it close, but just wasn't able to score. If he can score against Murin and pull something off, I think that Penn State could potentially get the victory over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Again, if you want to check out the full article with everything related to these matches, the full breakdown, you can check that out on the Fanco Wrestling Patreon channel. If you like this clip and are looking for more wrestling news and discussion, I recommend that you check out the full Fanco Wrestling Show podcast, which is live on this YouTube channel every single week. You can click here to subscribe to be notified of new and upcoming videos, or you can check out the Fanco Wrestling Show on your favorite podcasting platform to listen on the go. Stop stalling and start listening today.